All right. So now once we have three simple basics of health insurance, term insurance, and emergency fund covered, the next step that any one of us should look at before we move ahead is asset allocation. Asset allocation, simply put, is investing a fixed proportion of your total savings or net worth or portfolio into different asset classes. You should ideally have some part invested in gold, some part invested in debt instruments, some part invested in equity instruments, and some part maybe even invested in real estate. Simply put, it's an ideal way to, one, diversify your portfolio and to balance your risks. An analogy that maybe makes it even clearer is that when we talk about our diet, when we talk about an ideal plate that is built for a balanced diet, you have some proteins, you have some carbs, you have some fiber, you have some vitamins. So all of those are essential. You shouldn't be eating only proteins. Similarly, you shouldn't be investing only in equity. You should have some debt portion also, etc. And why this ratio is even more important today is that for those of us who did not have, say, a debt component in our portfolios were 100% equity. When the markets crashed, your portfolios go deep in the red. Markets have corrected 20 to 30% in the last couple of months. Your portfolios are 20 to 30% negative. Now, if you need some money, you will have to sell your investments at a loss, which is a very bad thing to do. And the contrary to this option is there will be risk-averse people out of us who will be invested only in debt products, FDs, PPFs, and not looking at equity. The problem with that is you're diminishing your returns over a long period of time. Equity, while it's a volatile asset class, over a long period of time, it provides very healthy returns and it actually multiplies your wealth. Debt as an asset class doesn't really multiply your wealth in the long term. Another reason to make this clear is, so this is a chart on calendar.
Question, yeah. Sorry, I'm disturbing you.
No problem.
And the gold part, is it the gold schemes are you talking of, or is it the real metal buying is what you're talking of?
All right. So just to make it clear, the first thing I would not consider for the gold thing, I would not consider the jewelry that one owns, because generally one is too emotionally attached to use it as an asset. One will generally not be selling the gold that they use. So the jewelry part is out, leaving us the option of either buying the metal part, your coins and your bars, or investing in sovereign gold bonds, or investing in, say, a gold mutual fund. So these three options are, all of these three options work to get your asset allocation part of it. But in general, the electronic gold, be it your sovereign gold bond or be it your mutual funds or even your ETFs, is much better than buying physical gold because you can transact it much easily. There's no cost of storing it, keeping it secure. So it's just more efficient to buy electronic gold, which could be gold bonds, which could be mutual funds, which could be ETFs.
Right. And one more question on mutual funds, especially equity or debt both. Will ELSS work better or the standard ones?
So ELSS comes under the equity mutual fund category. So it, as a part of your equity allocation, it works. And the benefit, of course, that we get is that we get the Section 80C deduction. So 1.5 lakhs, if you're investing in equity, you should be investing 1.5 lakhs at least in your ELSS funds. And once you've gotten over that limit, then you shouldn't be investing in ELSS because then you don't need the 3-year lock-in period. Then you can look at other mutual funds, be it large cap, mid cap, diversified, etc.
Oh, thanks.
Shrey, another question has come up asking about bonds.
Yeah.
So how about bonds and which sort of bonds?
You're talking about gold bonds or debt bonds, like government bonds, corporate bonds?
Debt bonds.
Debt bonds. All right. So the thing which, if most of you might be aware of the Franklin debt crisis that occurred last week or 10 days ago. So the thing that if you're buying Government of India bonds, they're very secure. The problem with Government of India bonds is generally that the maturity period is too high. So you have to lock in your money for, say, 7 years, 10 years, etc. So those of us who can afford to do that, those of us who have that significant part of our portfolio that we can use those bonds are a good instrument. A better way to reach this again is going through a mutual fund, because then instead of buying one bond or two bonds, you can invest in a mutual fund that will invest in, say, 10, 20 different bonds. They'll choose government bonds, they'll choose corporate bonds. Now, with respect to the bonds that they select, there are two risks that they carry. One is an interest rate risk and one is a credit risk. So the credit risk means that what if the money that they have lent to a corporate does not come back? So to hedge yourself from credit risk, you should only look at Mutual funds will invest in AAA and above companies. So these are your corporate mutual funds, these are your banking and PSU mutual funds, etc. The second risk when it comes to debt mutual funds is the interest rate risk. So what this means is, suppose you invest in a mutual fund that's investing in Government of India bonds on a 10-year. So your gilt mutual fund category basically. Now, because of short-term volatility in interest rates, because of our economic scenario, because of RBI, those long-term mutual funds are very adversely affected. That's why to protect yourself from an interest rate risk, you should be looking at shorter horizon funds. So maybe you can look at either short-term debt funds or medium-term debt funds that invest in bonds of 1 year to 3 year horizon. So they're relatively safe from interest risk also.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So this slide basically shows a calendar year-wise return that each different asset class gave. So what I want to highlight here is that there is no, across the 20-year period, there are years where gold does good, there are years where equity does good, there are years where even fixed deposits or debt does good. That's why you should be invested in each of these asset classes to get the benefit of all of them. Now, if we look at even though the debt asset class has done very well in 2001, 2013 and 2015, but the very well for debt is still 8.5% that year. Whereas if you look at equity, the years that equity has done phenomenally well, we have returns of as high as 87% in a calendar year. And on an average, you can see maybe there are figures like 19, 40, 31, etc. So over a long-term period, even though equity is volatile, it's necessary in your portfolio so that you are actually able to multiply your wealth. Now, this thing is even more clear when we look at this picture. Assume that you had a lump sum of 10 lakh rupees and you had invested that lump sum in 1990, so 30 years ago. That lump sum in cash would still be 10 lakh rupees. Whereas if it was in a savings account, it would be 32 lakhs. If it was in a fixed deposit, it would be 76 lakhs. If it was in a PPF, it would be 1.2 CR. If it was in gold or property, it could have been 1.7 CR. And if it was in equity, it would have been 5 CR plus. So this is the difference that each asset class can generate in the long term. And this does not mean that you'll put all your eggs into equity, because then when we go through a market situation like today, equity will be the least performing asset class as well, and your portfolio could be in the negative. So that's why even though equity exposure is very important, you still need to be balanced with debt and maybe with a little bit of gold as well. Just to give you an idea of what a portfolio on an average could look like.
So, Shreya, one more question, sorry. Yeah. It's a very interesting topic for me. I love this topic. Yeah. Is it better to go as a retail investor in equity, or is it better to go as a mutual fund investor in equity?
All right. So what we recommend to 99% of the people is that you should take the mutual fund route. The reason for this is that very few people have the combination of the number one, time to do research for individual stocks, number two, knowledge, number three, skill, and then number four, patience. Even if you have the time, knowledge, and skill, and you've made a well-balanced portfolio, you still at times of a crisis need to be patient and see that call through. So there are very few of us who have all of these abilities together. That's why for a retail investor, we recommend that you should take the equity mutual fund route.